Live on YouTube. So, hey, everyone, this is Unplanned with Phil Bland, episode 10. And I'm here today with my friend Simi, Michael Sim, who has been on a bit of an entrepreneurial journey himself from, running nightclubs when he was younger and then starting a client services digital agency. And so I thought Michael would be an awesome person to speak to just about his journey and maybe more tactical advice that people can actually take for how they do their digital strategy. So I guess, Michael, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, mate. It's a bit intimidating being live right now, but you've got no followers, you promised me, so hopefully nobody's watching. I want to joke, mate.
Yeah. So I guess I'm kind of just asking everyone at the moment because it's like you can be talking about like long-term things in normal times, but obviously right now is a bit of a crazy time. I'm just getting this show up and running kind of at the moment, and it's kind of good because a lot of people have extra time that they can just put out content like this. But yeah, how are you holding up? Are you kind of like mentally, personally, like business wise, are you getting on all right?
Yeah, to be honest, it's been okay so far. Obviously, at the start of the situation, it was a bit of a unknown circumstance, but since then, it's kind of just been I've been had the luxury of being able to work from home and have people working from home as well as part of the ongoing client service we offer. So although we've obviously had to pause a lot of work, we've still got enough out there to keep everyone busy. And to be honest, I've been very busy since it's happened. So I'm kind of lucky in that sense, to be honest, that I've always got something to do. So yeah, I'm kind of grateful for that.
Are you finding it like, how is it with the team? Like, are you finding that how do you maintain the culture? Because I know that you kind of have an office space and we can talk about that step and everything like that. But like, how are you guys kind of collaborating with one another? How are you maintaining the kind of team spirit when you're having to change your whole working environment?
Yeah, it's quite hard, but I guess at the same time, you almost communicate more because like, although everyone's working from home, our kind of workload's got a lot less. So it means people have a bit more time to spend on things that they probably would have rushed through previously. So we've got the kind of workload there that people are busy, but they're not like overly busy, which we probably previously had we're probably bad at doing, making ourselves over busy and kind of busy full, sometimes just taking on too much and saying we can do the next thing. Whereas now we've only really got 2 key clients we've continued to work with, but at the same time, they're now not flourishing, but they are actually like adapting, or we're helping them adapt to the situation. So they're bringing in different new ways to work, which is obviously quite it's quite good as well, because it's a bit more creative. You're thinking on your feet a bit more, and you've got more opportunities now. So, and then with those clients you're working with, you're up in the communication there again. So everyone's talking to more people kind of via Zooms and scheduled stuff, where before we were kind of really bad at that. We weren't that organized. So now we kind of have that kind of, well, I say kind of, like, unless I go on a tangent and just try and think of something, like we are kind of got that consistency of like checking in every day and stuff, which previously we kind of probably never did. So it's kind of helpful that way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So on the client side, I know that you've kind of got your own podcast that you were starting getting up and running. So what's the plan for that stuff? And are you enjoying doing it? Is that part of this new strategy?
Yeah, well, again, that was just us thinking on the feet. We work with a client called Six by Nico, which is a restaurant group run with one of my best mates from school. So we've worked side by side for a number of years, and we're just about to launch London for him, and that obviously stalled. And we basically had a community there on his platforms that were really engaged and really warm and wanted content. We released videos every 6 weeks, and we did stuff for the community. So it made absolutely zero sense to pause that. Although he wasn't going to take in any money in the short term, we kind of turned around a plan for him and said, look, you need to continue to invest in maintaining these relationships. And that was kind of bringing him to the forefront. So again, we did the podcast, we did the vlogs, we did behind the scenes, and all his team kind of got behind it as well. So it almost like uplifted his personal brand while this happened, because we were creating content around him and not just like selling tables or selling bookings and stuff like that, which I think in the long term will probably benefit him and his business.
Nice.
And on the side, I've just kind of jumped on it and just said I'll do it with you. Just had that kind of different, because I've always been behind the marketing and the growth, and he's kind of always operations and maintaining his culture. So it offers a good wee kind of.
Yeah, I think you guys you work quite well as a team as well. Apart from it's like you're part of the company, but also as a kind of agency, you're kind of fully invested in the
100%.
success of Six by Nico.
100%.
Nice.
So that's been kind of fun, to be honest. And we're exploring more things with that business as well, because obviously we've been doing the at-home delivery boxes, which have kind of kicked off, which is like a pre-made restaurant experience in a box. And that's been able to be flipped and now selling UK-wide within the last 3 to 4 weeks. So
that's incredible.
Selling out every Friday within 20 minutes. So.
And how are you like managing the distribution of that? I guess like that's a completely new strand to the business that wasn't in place, and then in 3 weeks you've had to build that up. So is there like, have you partnered with distribution partners, or like how are you getting the word out, and how are you actually fulfilling the orders?
It's just the people in your business. Like he had the right people to galvanize it, and we had the right people to get his audience on the platforms, and it's all their staff are pulling together, and within, like, it's kind of got, the start was like very small, and they just learned it and kind of built it up to a level which is still manageable. It's not like obscene, but every kind of city's now got their management team and a couple of their key chefs now coming in and cooking food for a number of people every week. And it's, as I said, it's selling out like rapid. So the demand's there, which is kind of exciting, because where does that stop? Does that stop now when the restaurants open back up, or is it something that's now going to be a completely new business for him and for us as well to be part of? So
yeah, I think it's like, it's weird. It's like even just me starting up this show is kind of driven by like a bit of boredom, bit of kind of interest, a bit of kind of, it's a good time to, because a lot of people's attention is on like mediums like this on the internet, and it's the same kind of thing with like ordering at home. People, like, you just need to like pivot to new things, and actually I think there's going to be a lot of like businesses that have like a new strand to their business that they hadn't even focused on before coming out of this.
100%. And your kind of your behavior will change as well. Like, I'm back in my family house and I'm enjoying spending time with my family and having dinner every night. So when this all goes away, I'm going to probably maintain that, and whether that's buy a box from Nico and bring it up to the house and cook it, or whether that's, do you know what I mean? So there's different things that are going to obviously come out for the better or for worse. People might argue, but people's behaviors are going to maybe change slightly.
I think this is a funny one. It's like, is it going to change, or are we going to snap straight back to what we were doing before? It's like nobody knows. Like, we all think it's like it's gonna stay the, you know, these are going to be lasting changes. But you know, as soon as people can go out, it's like out and about, wanting to actually be physically close to one another. It's hard to know.
There's no point in second guessing these kind of things, is there really? Like, nobody actually knows. Everyone thinks they obviously know the future right now, but you just
yeah, you just need to react to the environment and see what's happening, I guess. Like now, exactly. Right now you need to sell boxes. So why don't we go back a little bit to young Simmy and find out, you know, a bit about your journey to this point where you've got, you know, a successful client services business that's doing, you know, working with, you know, big restaurant clients and things. Like, what I guess, did you, when you were leaving school, I guess part of the purpose of this this show was to kind of like display some of the stories and like the routes that people have taken in life, and you know, they've not always been like pre-planned in advance. They're not, you know, they're not sure what they were going to do, but they just followed their interests and, you know, curiosity to do something. So I guess, like, you know, how did you navigate life and make the decisions that you made in the early stages coming out of university, like choosing not to go for a job, for example? Like, how did you make those decisions?
It was exactly that. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I left school. I didn't even finish university, to be honest. I went to like 3 different universities and did different courses. because I had the luxury of being able to do that. I left school and I did maths, and then I left that in Edinburgh, and I came back and did accountancy in Glasgow, and I did law, and I just felt like this is rubbish, man. Like I just didn't enjoy it. And then obviously during that time, I kind of just had a wee bit of like in my head, just creative or planning, or just sitting down and scribbling ideas, whether it's by myself or with other people. And obviously that's when we got into that club night stuff, which you kind of touched on with my mate Simon Dom, and we just kind of like grew a wee business out of that. And that's when I got into like the actual like marketing and the strategy of like marketing, and then the paid advertising, and then the kind of creative and the video. And that's when I kind of knew that's what I kind of wanted to explore, because it kind of just clicked. It was a hobby at that point, because obviously at that age you wanted to go out with your friends, and we were kind of just running a kind of cash money business to break even on those nights out, but at the same time developing those skills that obviously now I kind of put me in position what I'm doing now, which is quite interesting, to be honest, because I was at that when I left school, definitely had zero idea, oh, law, do this, do that. I was like, this is not for me, man.
How did you guys split it up? Like, I know I used to come to the club nights that Semi was running, and I used to like, we're all kind of close group of friends and things, but I wasn't like intimately involved with how you guys kind of work together. How like, and it's always a struggle when you kind of first have business partners. Like, how did you guys talk about splitting up responsibilities? Like, who was running the nights, who was doing the marketing, and how were those conversations? And what were the challenges? Because obviously you were quite young when you were doing it, so it's probably you don't get things right in the first place.
Nah, I guess it was just like, don't know, it's weird. You just knew who was good at what. Like, you had at that point Simon, who you knew was just the guy who would be the people person in the front end, and like I would kind of just know I would be in the back end. Like it just made sense, and I would just ride that wave of him telling everyone, and then I'd make sure that was getting strategized behind the scenes, and I was happy with that, because like as now you just like to you almost don't want to put yourself at the forefront too much. You just kind of like to ride the waves of other people doing clever things around you. So that's kind of just was what started that, and you almost just automatically went into those positions. And then obviously the club stuff, when you got drunk, you maybe networked a bit more than you probably would have done when you were sober, and you grew a bit of your own community around that, and then that opened that up to be explored. But yeah, that was just I just took over the kind of creative and the social and from the get-go, and just naturally, I suppose. I don't know why. And then I guess I got obsessed with like doing courses on it and stuff, and that's when Facebook advertising started, which was like nobody really knew what that was. And I was just like, hey, this.
And was that when you were running the night? Like, what kind of year was this? This was like 2009, wasn't
it? I think like 2012, 2010, 2014, around those times maybe. And nobody like that was just like in its absolute infancy, and I was able to like create events for people, and then people would come, and then I could like pay advertising to then show the people the next week's ads, and it was like, this is amazing. Like literally the target audience is in this event, and I can then target them for like 40 quid, and they'll all see the post, they'll all see the photographs from the week before, and people were just like, yeah, tagging, and then it just exploded that way. Do you know what I mean? So.
And how did you find out that you could do that? Like, was anyone telling you? Like,
it was just timing. It was just like social media was the way we were doing that. And then I was like, right, there must be a way to do this better, and just researched it and just went in deep into YouTube or Udemy. I remember it was like Udemy or something, just did like courses like for fun, and just like, wow, nobody's doing this. Because you go to meetings with all the clubs and they're like, oh yeah, like, this is our social media person. And they didn't know what it was. So it was just timing. At that point, any business could have grown into an absolute success if they just invested into paid advertising via social, because it was so cheap. It was like a penny to get.
And do you think the creative like mattered at that point, or was it just like
no, creative didn't matter?
Really?
No, it was all about just the attention. So yeah, and that's how the club stuff and then that's how I got into restaurants, because my friend was like, if you're doing it, we had a conversation, Nico, when he had his first restaurant, like, why can this not work for restaurants? Like, why are restaurants not now? Because they had the same consumer base. They had people that were going back week after week. It was the same kind of cycle, it was like retention model. So then I kind of just replicated that and started doing it for for restaurants, and then that's when the creative came into it a bit more, because you had a bit more to play with. It wasn't just people that were drunk; it was like food, personalities, people, and stuff, which was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like, did you just stop with the club night and then move on to
Yeah,
working?
pretty much.
And then was there any point of you that was thinking like, that was like first, initial client? Because it's always the same with client services things. It's like, how do you get your first client, and then it all kind of builds off of that. So I mean, I guess you were kind of close with Nico, and then that was the background because you guys had that shared thing. So then how was it just relationship? How did you like build relationships with other clients? Was it like using Nico as like a showcase to then?
Yeah, because no other, like, there was like a network within the industry in Glasgow, and like everyone that knew Nico who had restaurants, like, what are you doing? How come I'm seeing your stuff all over the place? Why are you getting 1,000 likes on your page and your posts? And why are you so busy when you weren't before? So it was just a word of mouth thing after that. And again, it was still kind of in its infancy, the whole pay to play model and social. And we were investing in video at that point, and photography. So then it just kind of, that was kind of the kind of starting point.
And did you want to talk a little bit about the model that you had at the start? Because I think we've talked about this, the doing everything, doing the creative for them, doing the videography, doing the actual digital, running the ads, finding the audiences. Like, how did you manage that entire process for them? And then was it kind of in the creative process, was it your vision that was being done, or how did you kind of collaborate with the clients to make sure that the creative that was being produced as part of the videos was like something that they wanted, and was consistent with their brand? How did you kind of balance that?
It was kind of different, to be honest. The kind of restaurant industry, it was kind of hard. People just left you to do it. They didn't really understand it. Like, obviously, while Nico was the base client, he gradually believed in it more and more and started investing more of his time into the creative. But most were just like, just create a video. At that point, it generally was just like photos. It was just like, to be honest, at the first point, it was just food photography, because restaurants weren't getting professional shots. So we were just going, right, boom, 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 and then putting on social with having a social media manager kind of service, and then doing all the paid in behind it, and then going into their data and trying to do some analysis there, try to just kind of growth hack, and then retention, look at stuff like that. And they were just like, okay, cool, do your thing, and that was it. And to be honest, since then, doing the restaurants in Glasgow and Edinburgh, we've never really had to back it up, because it's just like, we've just done it all. Do you know what I mean? So it's been kind of left to your own devices within reason. But obviously now, a bit more strategic about how we do things and how we report things to show the return of investment, especially as the budgets get more. But to begin with, it was just like just take, what is this social media? I don't know, just you do it. That was honestly it. I was like, right, okay, which is kind of difficult, to be honest.
Yeah. So then I guess, you're like doing all of that stuff. I remember you were doing like crazy hours, both like learning all of the new stuff. And I mean, I'd speak to Simi and he'd be, how you did, and he'd be like, oh yeah, I've been in the office for the whole weekend, working and like trying to learn all the latest tools and technologies and stuff, like kind of beating on the craft a little bit to know more about it, because it was all coming out fresh. Like, I think you were like burning the candle pretty far, trying to learn plus deliver on these client stuff. Like, was that a challenging period? Like, how did you manage that?
Yeah, because when I started, I only had like one full-time employee, and we had more probably clients then than we do now. It was just a case of just like get everyone, and obviously you were taught, like, you didn't really know what to charge it at or what people were prepared to buy, so you're just like under costing and just going yeah, and you had like 40 people to look after all the one time, and you're just like, wow. And then you just like, how do you do this? So yeah, that was kind of the start of it. And then just kind of, then through time, you just learn, you just like understand, like, nah, this is what you need to do, and that's who you need to look after, and you grow a team around that. But the start was mental. It was pretty insane. But again, I was lucky because I had a member of staff who Robbie, who was like a hybrid. He was like could do the web, the video, and the content. So and I could do obviously like the account, the social, the ads, and maybe like kind of like support the client on what to do, like strategy wise. So I'd probably use all my weekends like planning all the stuff to then hit a full week of just like being pretty compressed, to be honest. But yeah, it's been that was a horrible time, to be honest, looking back at it.
How do you like know when to take your foot off the gas on trying to like grow the business and think more about like how am I going to create something sustainable that's got like I've got more staff, like how to create that kind of internal structure that allows you to make sure that the service delivery is up to super good standard all the time, because obviously if you're just burning yourself out, then you just don't have time to keep up the services. Like how did you start to pivot?
But no, I don't think I ever have, to be honest. I don't like I'm not like there's always like I always want to try and like be in the space where you're trying to look at the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So I've never really been able to sustain that kind of like, right, this is what we're working on forever, because it never is. Like even like over the last 4 weeks, you can ask people who work with me now, I think we've changed what we're doing about 4 times in the last 2 weeks. Like genuinely, like in terms of like where the business is going.
Yeah.
Like we're doing this and everyone's behind it, and then I'm just saying, no, never doing this. It generally, unfortunately, that's kind of the person I am. So I just can't help it. I don't know. It's just like I don't like being in that one space for a long time.
How is that? How is that for the staff? Is it like
It's probably hard, to be honest. Yeah.
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 Is that something that you're like, this is just part of me? Like,
yeah.
I've what, like, sometimes it's like, oh, this is part of me and I'm just going to be like this. And if I start trying to pretend that I'm, not scattergun, like for taking this example, then, I'm not being myself, versus like, being self-reflective about some of those kind of leadership things that are maybe could be improved, and then thinking, how can I change this? Like, is that something
Yeah,
you think?
I'm totally self-aware of it, but I can't. I don't know. I just can't do it. Like I just can't. It's not in a bad way. I just can't just manage something like forever, like the same way, and just I need to just be in that extra space. That's kind of who I am. So unfortunately, that does mean that once you see something, like you grab it and you just want to expand it to something that you can then build for somebody else. And it's like, good, we're doing that now. And to be honest, 99% of the times it brings so much value to that client or to what you're doing. But obviously, in the hindsight, it kind of disrupts what people are kind of working on. But you've got to try and like that's with Nico's model for an example. Like you've got to continually disrupt and make sure his like we're growing his business like rapid. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's probably not. It's probably unheard of, really. Like what? There's no backing, just one team, just like outsourced completely, like growing, helping grow a business with somebody. So you got to kind of be like that, to be honest, because otherwise that wouldn't be a success story we would have. We would just probably be in Glasgow and that was it.
I was talking to Kev Campbell on this as well, and he was kind of talking about constantly switching it up and doing things differently, because you just can't stay static in the restaurant business, because people are always changing what they want, and they want a new kind of version of things.
Well, that's kind of like for me, like for that example, like we can spot a gap in like his model where you say, right, why is it not going to be busy? Why is it not busy in July? And then we can do something that makes that the busiest month in July. Do you know what I mean? So like that's kind of like the gaps we're trying to fill constantly. So, and that takes a lot of work, and that's why you can't be like, oh no, this is the system, because it's never the same. And we've been able to. Our goal with that is to have 100% occupancy in all his restaurants all the time, and that's why you can have to be. That's why I kind of am like that, I think now.
Yeah, and it's also I guess it's just more fun. It's more fun to like do things in a kind of just follow your curiosity, and it's kind of like what you've done with the doing the nightclub, and then just finding the stuff with the social media, and then getting into restaurants. It's kind of like just like following your kind of sense of like things that could work and not really knowing whether they will or not. But when you test them, sometimes it turns out that it works and sometimes it doesn't. But at least you've learned from that.
Yeah.
Trying that new tool or whatever. I guess, are you getting onto some of the new platforms? How you like I'm quite big on LinkedIn at the moment, because a lot of this content's business related. I guess there's like TikTok and Snapchat, and obviously we're streaming on YouTube right now. So like, how are you now, given the wide range of platforms out there which people are paying attention to? How does that form, like, how do you form your strategy for clients across all of these different platforms?
Basically, I'm looking at like e-commerce now. Like the way I've looked at restaurants is like they're like an e-com platform, and whenever I learned how to do paid ads, it was always like you always like had the model of e-com, like add to cart, buy, if they drop off, if they come back, if they're a loyal customer, the lifetime value. And that's kind of what I always use as a restaurant. Like everyone's making a transaction when they book, and everyone comes back more than once a year, or they don't. So we kind of, and that's where the paid advertising investment goes, because you're advertising both old and current customers at different costs and different rates of value and lifetime value and what it brings your business. So I'm kind of looking, I've spent my time, to be honest, looking completely at how restaurants can transform their businesses to be an online business and leverage their brand and their entities on social and their audiences to buy stuff from, whether it's cookbooks, t-shirts, aprons, or boxes, or deliveries. Like, I just think like it just makes sense now that restaurants are going to shift into like an online business. Obviously, it'll never take out the eating out experience, but some restaurants have the biggest brands in the world and they don't sell anything online. And we've sold millions of pounds worth of gift vouchers for businesses doing this same model. And now it's just like, wow, they can sell anything online. Do you know what I mean? They can sell their sauce. They're anything. Do you know what I mean? That's what, so that's kind of where I am just now. And through that, you need to build obviously communities, and that's where you should own your community, and like whether it's on a Facebook group or email list or personal emails, that's where you kind of the depth goes into like kind of nurturing those people into them buying from you in the future. So that's kind of what I'm exploring just now. We're setting up online stores right now for different people that are automated and they do things like if you drop off the add to cart thing, you get an email and you get retargeted, and you get percentage off. So just things that restaurants historically haven't really bought into. That's kind of what I'm kind of doing just now. So we'll see where that goes right now.
I think it's especially given that people can you can order something from Amazon, and so it gets delivered tomorrow, but then you can also order Uber Eats or whatnot. And so like if these if Uber Eats is delivering like hot food from these restaurants, then why can other things from the restaurants not be also delivered in
It's not only that, like restaurants have literally given away 30% of their business to these third parties, when some of them could generally do it themselves if they worked out the investment. Like imagine somebody did £1 million a year in Uber Eats. That's 300 grand they could invest into building their own brand, that then they could exponentially sell probably a bit less, but over time you've got a bit more brand equity out of it. Do you know what I mean? You're not leveraging on another platform. So
and if that's especially, I guess, if people are going direct to their website to buy all of this. So you're doing like full e-commerce stores for like the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
Nice. That's sick.
But that's like, they don't, like every restaurant sells gift vouchers, but I can guarantee you not many of them, like their gift voucher page on their website sells for them, that they don't drive traffic there, or they don't know when somebody's birthday is, how to reward their best customers. Do you know what I mean? So like but they potentially could sell a load of a shit ton of gift vouchers. And that's just the starting point. So
and a lot of them were doing experiences as well, like and not just like a monetary value, but like a special kind of certain number of courses, and you get bellinis and all that type of thing. It's the tricky thing is, at the moment, like all of these companies are going to have to kind of pivot in some way in this like current environment, but then like also are under so much pressure because of like the it's not even right now because the government support packages have actually been quite
Yeah,
good in terms of like supporting retail stores and things. So they're all getting grants and everything. So while they're closed, if they're not paying for the rent because that's covered by the grants, and if their staff are all being paid on furlough, then that's fine. But I think it's the point at which where all of these stores are all of these shops or sorry restaurants are going to be like half empty,
yeah.
and you can't have a restaurant business that's kind of half empty.
Can't survive. It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
you can't task. Yeah, it's just, I don't see how restaurants can be expected to go back to normal or semi-normal at 30% capacity. Just doesn't make any sense. It just wouldn't go out at all. And what they're supposed to do with their staff and the rent and all that other stuff, they're just not set up to survive for that. So I don't know how that comes out the other side. That's
Yeah.
why I've tried to make people that we look after move on to online sales and drive online sales just now, because that could be the only way you can create some cash flow during this and
Yeah.
throughout the whole year. So
Yeah. And how is it for like, because obviously the agency that so you've got some key clients, but like you're working on BLK 29.
yeah,
So how like in terms of like your focus on building up that like agency,
yeah.
providing this like full range of digital services essentially to clients, like are you thinking about diversifying or in terms of the industry that you're providing services to, or are you just thinking, I just want to like there's enough in the retail kind of restaurant area to focus on.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Probably that's the thing. Like, the only way to stay in that space is to do something online based, and that's why I'm trying to invest my time to create a platform or a strategy around that. And so whether it's a platform that we offer as an agency or whether it's a separate thing altogether, but that's for me. I've been in that space throughout this whole process because I've been helping people navigate through it or whatever. So initially I would probably just stay there because I do believe like there's other opportunities for restaurants to do stuff within that space and build their brand in other ways and then sell other stuff online. So just see how that comes and then go from there. But I don't really think we'll go into any different. I don't think we'll be an agency as such. I think it'll be more of like, right, we are plug and play into your business model kind of thing. This is who you need: paid ads, content creator, and a kind of account planner, and that will lock into your business, and that's what you'll need. You won't be like buying our time. This is our product.
It's like a solution,
I
and
think
then
so.
they just don't need to think about it anymore. They can
I
just
can
tap.
see all that like, oh, for like hourly rate, and this is what we did this week. It doesn't really make sense. You need to just like, right, this is what we're trying to get to. Let's go all in. And that's kind of what I try and want to get to, is just like a kind of like a product rather than a kind of outsourced service. So
Yeah.
see what happens. But
And then do you ever have like over the time, have you had clients saying to you, they want you to, meet certain targets or give them certain returns to like as part of the payment structure? How do you like manage those conversations?
yeah, so I guess we'd mainly be either driving online bookings or online sales. So just either to we just look at what they're currently doing, and then we just guarantee a kind of growth based on what we'd invest in ads and what we'd invest in creative. We kind of know our benchmarks, saying like, we can grow your business. Like, for example, when we did gift voucher campaigns at Christmas, we just say we guarantee we'll get you X, and they'll cost you Y, and we just say, and it's like 10x to what they'd invest to get out. So they'd be like, right, cool, let's do it.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
it's quite weird. It's fun. But as an industry, restaurants, genuinely speaking, don't really understand that whole like space. Do you know what I mean? So it is like an education thing at the same time, which is quite tiring as well, because they're missing so much opportunity by not understanding the investment. Like 2 years ago, like I'm still working with people that are now just kind of getting it. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of like frustrating, because like if you just invest in your customers, like you'd actually grow so fast, like you'd build so much on top of it.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's quite funny how people, if you're in the, restaurant business, or you're in, designing jewelry, or they're so focused on like the delivery of the product or the service within the store, or designing things. People don't think enough about building that brand awareness,
Or even
and
the relationship after that booking. Like, you've got a booking, like, contact them after personally, speak to them. How was it? Send me an email if you want to come back again. That kind of stuff. Do you mean just like go really deep into it? And that's kind of what we've tried to build into our kind of service as well, as kind of educating that. Like, we can't do everything. You can literally go in and like strip through your customers from that. We can say, hey, this is the owner. Really, really happy to have you in this week. Can you give me any feedback? Blah, blah, blah. And then that creates that kind of, wow, they care about me, and then they'll come back, and then they'll see stuff in social, and then they'll see stuff when they walk in. Do you know what I mean? So then it kind of all works.
How do you think? Yeah, how do you like plan out? Do you like do like mapping, or like a sort of, how do you map out that customer journey from the first time they've literally seen the ad, or do they have to go to the website before they get an ad, or do they get a different ad depending on whether they've
Yes.
visited the website? Do you like map each of those kind of steps out?
No, but what we do is, like, we basically do this thing. I know I've said to you this book before, Permission Marketing by Seth Godin. I don't know if you actually read it, but
I haven't had a chance yet, but I will.
That's basically, like, I read that book and I was like, this is exactly what we do. Is like, people are like showing you they're interested in something, and you don't market to them until they do. So then when people started engaging with stuff on Facebook website or our customer, we just then create content that wasn't selling, but was just like there was enough variety that they would just then see it throughout their whole kind of like journey on their mobile. So say, for example, I have liked a page, I've just liked a page, I've kind of given you the permission that I'm into you. We'd then have a system set up where there'd be like 7 bits of content. They're pretty cool. They weren't about selling our book now, and we just retarget that to you across a 30-day period. So every day over 30 days, you might be scrolling and you might then see this content, but it didn't disrupt you because it was personal, because you just liked the page, and it was relevant because it's within a time period, and it just felt like a personalized experience. So it didn't look like an ad, but it looked like a content, and through that we get engagement, then that'd be on to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage. So that was kind of the number one thing, is just like, when somebody's came on to find out more about you, just give them stuff that they want to see. Do you mean, if it's your best dish, or it's you speaking, or it's a nice video, just whatever it is, like, that's what social was for, food and videos and stuff like that. So it just meant, so we saw a lot, and then we worked out that if we showed somebody different bits of content like 8 times, then they were more likely to book. So we just then started showing them, like, book now, and then we drive bookings at half the price of what you would do if you just press a booking ad. Do you mean? So.
And do you do that mainly on Facebook, or is it also driving traffic on
Instagram and Facebook?
They're the main focus.
Because they are owned by the same company, so they own all the same data, so you just create that and do that. And it's not like people get freaked out about data, and so they should be, but within reason. But this is based on you expressing a kind of want for the product or the service. Like, sometimes we target people who've visited the website only 10 times or more, so we know exactly like who that person is, and it won't ever be to just sell. So
it's quite funny. Everyone always talks about, like, there's a big difference between what people say that they don't like and the things that they actually don't like. Like, behavior is often very different from what people express. Like, and data is one of those things. Like, I just don't think anyone actually really cares about, they share so much stuff with people. Like, people don't really care about, like, everyone's like, gets hyped up about, a company owning all of their data, but yet we're constantly sharing it.
I guess that kind of another side, the advertisers on Facebook and Instagram do kind of ruin it a wee bit, because there are ads that just like follow you about, like, buy now, buy now, buy now. And you're like, I spoke about this to my friend. Why am I seeing these ads? Do you know what I mean? Whereas there's kind of an experience you can put into the process where it's like, it's not like an ad, it's like a post, but it's just showing you it because we are literally paying to show the people that we know are into it. Whereas like when you go on Amazon and then you see it everywhere and you're talking to it's like, that's when it becomes a bit like spammy. So there's kind of like an experience to the ads strategy you can use as well, which helps a lot because you don't ever spam and you're building an audience as you do it. So that's kind of what we try and invest in.
Yeah, and I guess we'll just like kind of we'll finish up soon. But the other thing is like, do you guys split up the creative so that it's like you target it for very not just where they are in the journey about purchasing, but also like, do you make one piece of creative for different demographics, and do you target all of that stuff, or and yeah, how does that work, I guess?
Well, I've not really for different parts of the journey. Yeah, so if you want to do it like a booking ad, then it would be a different creative. But essentially, what you're doing when you're batching all those bits of content together and retargeting it, you're in another sense building your best ad, because then that will show you the best performing bit of content. So then you can take that and use that as your kind of conversion ad. You've used that as a kind of test model to show the people that you know, and so that's kind of one of the main things we do. But in terms of like, there's loads of ways you can get like split up the funnel, test, A/B creative, landing page, all that stuff. But for this, it just doesn't really work. You don't have the budgets to be honest, because you're still operating in quite. But we're trying to get bookings for people like £1 to £3 per booking. So it's a good return on investment if they come in your restaurant and spend 50, 60 quid. So in terms of ROI, it's pretty hefty, to be honest.
Nice. Hey, Sammy, this has been awesome. Are you anything else you wanted to talk about?
It's been my pleasure.
Thanks very much for the time, and thanks for joining me on Unplanned with Phil Planned.
I'm definitely unplanned. Apologies.
That's great. That's exactly what we're looking for.
Okay.
All right, my man. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.